good afternoon. My name is Alexander Pavlovich and I'm the executive chef of Sheraton Kampala Hotel. Today, Today we'll have this conversation to explain the certain challenges which we have faced during the lockdown and during the COVID, actually when COVID came, and during the period COVID is still around, and then during what we use as action plans to look into the future, how we're going to manage through this situation.
Chef Alex was first out of the starting blocks. So for me, it's now to say hello, listeners, viewers and readers of ATC News. I'm spending time at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel to see what's going on behind the scenes as a hotel which has been operating to some extent throughout the lockdown period, which started on 22nd of
24th of
March.
March, I think.
They were operating, but they are now beginning to crank up operations again and rev it up ahead of the anticipated reopening of the airport. We still don't know when that will be, because most of the clients at the Sheraton here come from overseas, and presently no regional or international air travel is possible because the airport is closed. So, Chef Alex, you introduced yourself.
Yes, please.
You mentioned earlier to me you're from Serbia.
Yes, exactly.
You stayed here for the duration with your family
Yes.
instead of traveling back to Serbia, and I suppose you feel safer here than it could be anywhere in Europe.
Indeed I do. Uganda is like, it's my second home, and actually my daughter was born here, so Uganda is now like my real home. And I felt more safe between these people here and my team at the hotel, with the managers, with all the friends I have around. So I think the decision was right with comparing what's happening in
Yes.
Europe, which is really scary and not good at all. But I believe that here, and I see that here, government has managed very well the cases, the all things what is happening around. So I'm pretty happy, and I think that the decision was really good.
Now, the presence of the executive chef, of course, is generally very helpful to a hotel operation, even when it is tuned down to the extent as it was here. But you are not doing all of that on your own. Tell us how you approached, when the lockdown came, how you approached the continued operation, because for ATC News readers and viewers and listeners, it's of course important to understand that it's not just the Sheraton Kampala Hotel, but also the service departments, which is part of the hotel operation, which belongs to the same owners. And a number of people, I believe, there are actually staying on meal plans, so they needed to be fed.
Exactly.
As part of the commitment you made to your tenants. How did you approach the sudden turning down of operations, and what were the deciding factors for you to come up and say, okay, we need so many number of staff? Explain that.
Okay, but the big challenge was actually, as I said earlier, it was we had a very good job business until 14th of March. Then after that, next week was coming down until we remain only with very few guests who actually been locked between the country, and then they couldn't find a certain planes to their countries. So we actually remained to operate for them. And then on top of that, when the lockdown happened, we had a day to decide who to stay, who to go home, and then from the numbers of people we had, especially in my department, I'm operating almost 100 people in the kitchen because I have 7 outlets.
Normal operations.
Exactly, normal operations. 7 outlets, 3 satellite kitchens, main kitchen, butchery, vegetable. So it's actually entire complex operation. So I had to decide the minimum of the people I need for the operation, which I after that had in the hotel. It was really difficult at the point who should stay. I have made the decisions, as I said, I closed the eye, and the first people who came on my mind, I said, okay, let me remain them by being loyal to the people who stayed in the company for so many years. And then after that, when they decide to go back to stay with the families, we took younger generation, and then we start developing again them from let's say from the stage they've been. We did a very good thing that all our staff we kept in the hotel. We did not keep them in the layovers or the staff rooms. We actually kept them directly in the guest rooms because we wanted them to feel as much they can. Appreciating, exactly. Then we left our cafeteria open, so we feed our staff breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything they had here. My big problem in that moment was the items which I had in my stores, in my fridges, in my freezers. What to do now with those items? Some items are impossible to be kept back in the freezer or to be kept in the fridge for a long time. Even if we kept in the fridges, we didn't know are this lockdown going to last 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. So this will still use the electricity, use the other care. The power goes and come and goes, and then this was really challenging. So we end up a lot of items actually we transfer, and even the items which are usually not offered to the staff, which are offered to the high-end customers, we have actually now offered to the staff. Then they can consume, at least then we do not throw the food. And then we managed to that cycle to let's say to save the food, and then also to take care of our staff the best we
It's
can.
in fact a question I wanted to ask. When a hotel from literally 1 week or 1 day to the next moves from 60-70% occupancy, and you have 260 plus rooms, so 60-70% occupancy, that's quite a number of guests. And from 1 day literally to the next, they're all gone, or literally all gone. And of course you do have supplies in your stores. You need to be able to bridge supply challenges. Should the supply chain out of Mombasa or through flights into Entebbe be interrupted for whatever reason, you need to be able to have enough foodstuffs and ingredients here so that you can continue cooking meals for your guests. How did you cope with that? Faced with full stores, because I'm sure you had full stores,
Yes.
and suddenly you had no longer a full house.
This is an example. This is where we came up with the daily menus and weekly menus. An example: I would go back to my freezers and go back to my vegetable fridge and see. Okay, I have let's say pork chops for this amount of the people I have in house. I have pork chops for let's say 5 days. So I have created a menu for this week, offering A, B, C, D, pork chops, fish, whatever I had it there, and then the vegetables which I had there. So I was creating the menus according to what I have, and then our purchasing team was, they would come in the morning early, they would go to buy the certain items what we need and what we could find in the market.
Fresh food.
Fresh food, exactly, the vegetables.
That
the
was
fruits.
continuing even during the lockdown.
Yes.
Food markets
There
were
was
allowed.
a bit price difference,
Yeah.
because I think also the supply, Kampala belongs to Kampala depends to the supplies from upcountry.
Yeah.
So the trucks were not coming anymore. It was really a lot of shortages, and the price as well increased. So I just had to get some fresh supplies. For example, some bread, special breads, and certain other items which we produce in the house, but sometimes we are buying from outside. I had completely to stop any single purchase from outside, whatever was available to make in-house. So just for some fresh products, I had to send the purchasing team, but they were going 3 times in a week. And the meats, I was using what I can find it in my fridges and freezers, and what was good to be served. And then after that, we were purchasing very little by little. But it also was a difficult time. Non-supplier will come to deliver you 2 kilos of meat,
Yes.
and you have actually a 5 guests in house. So it was really challenging. But I will tell you one very scary moment. It was that I had based operation only in one outlet in Paradise Restaurant, actually Park Square outlet, but Equator Kitchen, which supplying that outlet with the food. And then I switched everything in the main kitchen. It was completely shut down. There were no lights, there were no fridges operating, apart from the butcher and vegetables on the ground floor. And one day I came to the office. My office is in the middle of the
Yep.
kitchen. So you're looking in front of you 300, 400 square meters, and everything is in the dark, and only your office having a light because you came to do some administrative work. And then that day I said, not possible. I switched off the light in the office. I felt so sad. I felt so bad not seeing 50, 60, 100 chefs in front of my eyes, which are every day. And this happened actually just next day. So this was for me, the most scary and the most hard moment I have passed through my career. I'm 30 years old. I started my career when I was 18. So for 12 years in career, this was the saddest moment I could see in the life of a chef. That one day you're having 100 people in your brigade preparing different meals in a la carte, in banquet, in cocktails, in everywhere. And then suddenly next day you have everything shut down completely.
And the lights are off.
Lights are off. And then I switch off right in my office, and I just came to work with the boys.
With the other stuff down here.
The outlet, exactly. And then I was doing some of my laptop work outdoors, so I couldn't sit and see that picture anymore. And this lasted until...
Now, the hotel is starting up again. The moment the airport opens, I would expect that occupancies go into 10, 15, 20, 30, 40% again. That means you will have to resupply yourself because you've used up very sensibly a lot of the supplies you had here. What is the supply chain like right now in the absence of international passenger flights so far, which normally carry cargo in the belly, like daily flights from the Gulf coming in, and you know, this is a giant supermarket for Africa, so the Emirates flight, the Qatar Airways flight, they would be bringing foodstuffs in, specialized foodstuffs. Other things might come through Mombasa, but mostly I think, you know, a lot of your items come by air. What are the challenges you have right now to actually resupply yourself, given that most of your suppliers here in Kampala who import this on your behalf have been shut down, and because of the lack of demand, they are still closed?
Exactly. What first we looked at was to base the menus on the local products. We usually always used to have, of course, a lot of local products in the menu. I mean, all the vegetables and fruits. Uganda has a wonderful fruits, even the vegetables, but especially the fruits. Organic, and it's available all the time. It's always fresh, so it's fantastic. That one we did not suffer that much, but all the seafood, we had something, but we had to rid of a lot of them because we could not keep them for so long. So all the seafood now, there is a shortage of different cheeses in the market, which so far we need to have, of course, some basics, because even in Uganda the cheeses are not that big tradition, and like the cold cuts are similar like that. People more eat fresh fruits, fresh food, some meats. So we base the menus currently on everything what is available to find into the market. Everything what should be imported, we try to avoid these days from the menus. Even when the airport opened, I believe that in first couple of months it will more be the travelers who are coming back home, or just people who are maybe going to Kenya or Tanzania or Rwanda, and they stop by Kampala, and still the people who are coming back home into those countries. So I don't really think that it will be a big international groups of the guests. So we will still keep offering what is available in the market. On one way, we do as much we can to promote the local vegetables, local fruits, the beauty of Uganda. On the other side, we used to offer very fresh things to the guests. It's going to be very challenging for the imports because the prices will go much higher. Currently, there are the challenges that a lot of farmers which are up country are actually not producing, stopping the productions in this period because they couldn't supply for so long. Some of them, they need 5, 6, 7 hours to drive to Kampala. Yeah. Then they maybe need to sleep somewhere in the truck on the road, and then need to go back. So it's really difficult. Then we had I think for 1 or 2 weeks, it was a shortage of pork ribs.
Yeah.
And it was, when you call the suppliers, they simply tell you, but there is no supply from up country.
Logistical challenges because of lockdown and of curfew, which takes off every evening at 7 p.m. and lasts now until 6:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Having been here for a day, I've realized you've now restricted your food operation from previously 7 outlets to this one here at Paradise. You're using one kitchen which is attached to the Equator Bar. And I've noticed you have restructured your menu, obviously tailored around the availability of items you have in the stores. Now, you have created a scan menu, which everyone with a smartphone can scan and download the menu. And this is one menu now, which is available at the hotel throughout, including for room service, I believe. And this is novel. This is the new normal, because handing out menu cards, of course, is a challenge as far as hygiene, health and safety is concerned. You can't wipe down all these things all the time. So this is now a touchless, contactless way of actually seeing what's on the menu, what is available. What prompted you to do that? Did that come from Marriott, which is of course the owner of the Starwood and Sheraton Brunch? Did it come from Sheraton, or was that something you did here on your own?
Okay, every hotel do it on its own, of course in a cooperation with some digital companies, in support of IT, of course. So this is something what came as a recommendation. The touchless menus, the something what you only can see on your phone, because you are the only one touching your phone. So this came as a recommendation, and then we followed. And I can say, I think we've been among the very few places open for this curfew period, in lockdown period, especially in Kampala. So we came immediately when we saw that this is available and this can be followed. We immediately came with it and we offered to the clients.
Yeah. Now, you just said again, we were operating. Of course you were. And during that period of time, I believe you hosted what the president referred to as scientific weddings, when at one stage the number of wedding guests was restricted to 20 or 30, I believe. And Ugandans are known to have wedding parties of 500 or 1,000 and even more. So you hosted weddings. You hosted sort of hybrid conferences with video links to overseas offices, so local companies could actually come in, physically spaced, the way I saw the pictures, and have conferences. So you did have some additional F&B business, I suppose, for that. How about, beside that, how about outside catering? Did that continue as well?
No, and during the lockdown period, no, because we were not able to move out, and especially when we receive people in the hotel, we control people in the way that they sanitize the hands on the entrance. Maybe you have realized.
Yes.
Number one, it's on the gate. Number
everywhere.
two, it's on the exactly. Then when you enter to the restaurant again, then when you sit on your table. So this is something where we had control on all our customers who are coming in. If we go to the outside catering, especially if we went on that time when the lockdown started or anything, it will be very difficult, because we don't know where these people, when they are at home, have been, they move and everything, so we did not want to expose our staff to that risk as well. We have hosted some small groups, 10 people during the lockdown, and then when we host them, it was very difficult. Ugandans, they're like a buffet. Buffet for Ugandans is kind of there is no wedding without buffet, let's say. They are not used too much to the plate service, which I understand. In many countries is like that. But it was a bit difficult in the moment to explain to people that you cannot set up buffet for 10 people. Then we did for them, offer them a service at the table. They would sit, maybe 2 on one table, 2 on the other table, so they will have 10 people split on 5 tables, exactly. And then the waiter will go with the sanitizer again. We'll offer food for each of them separate, so they would enjoy. We would give them as much food they want, but just that we couldn't give them the
buffet.
The buffet we started recently.
Yes, your Sunday brunch.
Yes,
I've seen on Saturday you have lunch function as well.
Lunch functions are based that family can come, 5, 6 of them or 10 of them. We prepare a table for them with the social distance, and then we serve them a family meals. And then there is a really, really good and special prices for it. Then apart from that, Sunday brunch when we do, maybe you have realized we have chefs all over behind, so we don't give the guests to serve themselves. We actually
that I think is a key element which everyone is very interested in. Sunday brunch, that means buffet, but buffet no longer self-service with guests actually taking the serving spoons and taking the tongs. A member of your staff is actually doing that for them, and a guest would come up with a plate and saying, could I have some of this, could I have some of that?
Yes,
Is that working? Are your guests
it's
complying?
working. Well, in begin, actually, we as a hospitality industry, we need to teach the guests as well. We need to teach them to the new normal, because if we do again like before, then the people will never realize that something has changed, and we are forced to change because we cannot allow to have cross contacts, to have somebody get COVID in the hotel or something like that. So people understand that, and I think that now it's a very strong picture goes all over the world that the contactless things it's mandatory, and especially here our chefs they have the mask, they have the face
The
shields,
shields.
they have the gloves, and this is the most important.
Yeah.
So they work like that, and I think that what we did, an example was a big change, that we don't serve anymore the salad in the bubbles. We put everything individual, and then some certain salads we put in the bubbles, and we put a chef there to observe.
Yeah.
But these small things the people can take to their table.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people were like, I want a lot of salad. Pick as
Have
much you
two,
want.
have three.
Have three, have four,
Yes.
have five. Just that we're trying to avoid the contacts
Yes.
through the service gives.
Another service element the Sheraton is rightfully famous for in Kampala is your Temptations cake shop. You have always been at the forefront of pastry production, and cakes and pastries have been selling like the proverbial hotcakes. Now, I suppose during the lockdown, you also saw that the demand for the cake has fallen, but now that the lockdown has been lifted, how is the cake shop performing now?
I have to say that if we compare to the last year, we are doing 25% above in the budget than last year. So the performance now, it's even better than what it was last year in the same period, which is unbelievable.
And you have the option to pick up or to have it
Yes.
delivered.
Exactly. So, but mainly are the pickups, because if we do the deliveries, we do for
Yes.
certain clients who request. But the problem there is that we have so many cakes goes per day, and it's not possible to arrange that many vehicles to deliver to every guest. The temptation is something which actually we used to say never stopped. People recognize the Sheraton Temptation. It's a tradition here for so many years. It's been challenging when we went into lockdown, because a lot of good pastry chefs, or they maybe couldn't be around. So we even reduced the operation a lot. I think during the lockdown we were closed as well for a couple of days. Then we reopened, but we did a very limited.
Yeah.
Then after that, when the lockdown was open, let's say when the curfew was extended, then we get a lot of people coming in and buying the cakes. We try to maximize safety of these people, so actually, of the customers, so actually we split them all over the lobby.
Yeah.
We put it two chairs.
Package it,
Exactly.
and
Package it.
they go with it.
We avoid opening the Temptation shop itself, because in that case we'll have the people coming.
Social
queuing there.
distancing or
Exactly.
physical distancing,
Exactly.
of course, there is much more challenging.
It was, and I have to say that I'm really proud of the team in the pastry, because they really do a great job, and especially a lot of people now are celebrating from the home. So all these people needed things, and they needed to run before the curfew started. So it was really fighting with the time to deliver. And Sheraton Sheraton Temptation is known that we can't say no, because somebody will tell you, but I'm buying for 20 years my cake here. And now, because of curfew, we were really limited. Then we had a lot to run and to deliver much than what was possible. But we really managed very well. And I have to say that even the performance, it's even better than last year in the same month.
Well, 25% revenue plus during times like this is a massive achievement, I must say.
On one
And
side, it's
I think
good.
it comes because of the quality.
Yes, but exactly. But on one side it's good. On the other side, it's a challenging, that because you can see then that these people, whoever when I say these people, I'm meaning the customers, the hotel friends, let's say, all people now celebrating from home, which brings trouble into the other area of the business, which is the outlets the a la carte business, the banquet business, because the people now making functions at home, 5 people, 10 people, and somewhere people get into the bigger groups where they are out of the eyes of the...
And apart from that, of course, a function room which previously catered for 300 people on 35 tables, now you can put in 80, 90 or at
Exactly.
most 100.
Exactly.
So there, I think, is another challenge which I'm going to discuss tomorrow with your channel manager. Meanwhile, readers and listeners and viewers of ADC News, here you have it from the horse's mouth. Executive chef Alex of the Kampala Sheraton Hotel has given you an insight on how life was for him on the job during the lockdown period, which went from the last week of March until about 3 weeks ago. Now we can move again with limits. We have a night curfew. Alex, I thank you very, very much for speaking to us and for giving such a colorful presentation and share your challenges and your achievements with us. So, as we say here, Weberenyo Sebo.
Thank you.